They say every neighborhood has a Karen. Ours didn't. Not at first. Ours had weekend barbecues. Handwritten invitations on front doors. Teenagers with water balloons in the summer. Elderly couples who waved as they walked their dogs. No one gave side eyes over lawn length or mailbox shape. It was a community, not a kingdom. Then she moved in. Her real name was Janice, but within a month, we were all calling her Karen behind closed doors. Even the polite ones. Even the elderly couple with the Yorkie that wore rain boots. She was in her late 50s, early 60s maybe. Blonde bob. Oversized sunglasses. The kind of woman who wears pastel-colored tracksuits but walks like she's on a military mission. Comment where you are watching this video from. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. The first time I met her, she didn't introduce herself. She just looked at the flower pots on my porch and said, technically those should be no more than 14 inches from the edge of the step. I thought she was joking. She wasn't. I found out later she'd already filed 2 courtesy reminders with a key before even unpacking her boxes. Within 2 weeks, she ran for HOA president. And since no one else wanted the job, she won by default. No vote. No campaign. Just silence, and then a crown. At first, it was small. She sent out a neighborhood welcome memo, typed in 11-point Times New Roman, double-spaced like an old college paper. It ended with, "Let's all do our part to keep the community uniform, safe, and respectful." Fun. Harmless enough. Then came the rulebook revisions. The Enhanced Code of Harmony. I wish I were making that up. She added a zero-tolerance policy for non-neutral mailbox colors. Mandated that all front porch chairs be earth-toned. Banned sports team flags, even during game days. And the worst offense? No lawn ornaments larger than a cantaloupe. I remember reading that and laughing. Cantaloupe? Really? But nobody pushed back. Because who wants to argue with someone who lives to argue? But she hadn't truly picked a target yet. She hadn't found her nemesis. Until she found it innocently enough. A violation notice on my door. Exterior light fixture exceeds brightness standard. Violation code, 14.3b. I opened the letter and blinked in confusion. I'd replaced my porch light bulb with an LED. It was literally an eco-friendly, motion sensor bulb I'd bought at Home Depot. Apparently, it was too bright. I ignored it. Thought it was a mistake. The next day, another letter. Mailbox paint finish not compliant with approved color palette. Suggested tone, Sierra Fog or Antique Driftwood. My mailbox was black. Standard, boring, totally inoffensive black. Again, I ignored it. But the letters kept coming. One about my recycling bins being visible from the street on trash day. Another claiming my hedge was overly expressive. Expressive? I called a friend on the board and asked what that even meant. He sighed and said, "Honestly, I think she didn't like the shape." Still, I laughed it off. I mean, come on, overly expressive hedges? Until I got hit with 5 violations in 1 week. One for wind chimes that were audibly disruptive. One for garage door inconsistencies. It had a single paint chip from hail damage. One for leaving my garden hose uncoiled. One for having a guest park facing the wrong direction. And the last one? Planting unregistered tulips. I didn't even know tulips had to be registered. That week alone, I received 9 envelopes from the HOA, all from Karen's desk. That's when I started documenting them. By the end of the month, I had 38 violations. 38. I created a spreadsheet. Time-stamped each letter. Some were filed less than an hour apart. And all of them were ridiculous. I started watching the security camera I'd installed last year for package thefts. And that's when it clicked. She wasn't just patrolling. She was targeting me. I watched hours of footage of Karen walking past my house, sometimes twice a day, holding her phone out like she was measuring angles, zooming in on my porch furniture, taking photos of my trash bins from across the street. And then it got weirder. At 3:17 a.m., yes, I saw headlights pause in front of my house. Someone sitting in a car. Just parked. Not moving. I enhanced the footage. It was her car. The next day, I received a letter saying my porch curtains were visible through the windows and did not align with the architectural tone of the neighborhood. She was looking into my house. At 3:17 a.m. It stopped being funny. It started becoming disturbing. I talked to my neighbor 3 doors down, a sweet woman named Sheila who makes the best lemon bars in the county. She told me Karen had written her up for hanging a rainbow windsock for her granddaughter's birthday. Another neighbor got cited because his truck had off-brand tires that disrupted community aesthetics. I realized something. This wasn't about rules. It was about control. Karen wasn't running an HOA. She was running a one-woman state. And I was public enemy number one. So I did what she never expected. I started documenting her, right back. They say paranoia is when you start imagining enemies. But what if the enemy is real, and they're following you? Not figuratively. Not metaphorically. Literally. Karen, the newly self-appointed dictator of our HOA, had gone from writing 38 absurd violations in a single month to stalking me. And no one was stopping her. But I was about to change that. Let me take you back. After the flood of violations, I'd installed a ring cam, a dash cam, and even set up an old security camera in my backyard. I wasn't just trying to catch Karen issuing violations. I was trying to figure out how far she'd go. At first, it was limited to footage of her patrolling my property. She'd walk by slowly, phone held up like she was filming a documentary. Sometimes she'd linger for 10, 15, even 20 minutes, just standing across the street. That was strange. But what happened next was downright chilling. I went to the grocery store, just a few minutes down the road. As I pulled into the parking lot, I noticed a white SUV 2 rows over. Didn't think much of it. But when I walked in, I passed her. Karen. No shopping cart. No purse. Just standing by the entrance holding her phone. Filming what, exactly? I walked past her. She didn't speak. She just stared. I kept glancing over my shoulder throughout the store. She stayed near the front, pacing, then walked out without ever buying a thing. When I got to my car, her SUV was gone. Where I thought, coincidence, maybe? Until it happened again. I decided to stop by the gas station. Just as I pulled up, I saw a familiar figure in the side mirror. Karen, in yoga pants and a windbreaker, walking right behind my car. Again, no gas pump, no coffee, no actual reason to be there. This time, I confronted her. Morning. Everything all right? She smiled, tight-lipped. Just getting my steps in. Gotta stay active. You know how it is. Then she walked away, through the parking lot, never even entering the gas station. That's when it hit me. She wasn't just walking. She was tracking me, following my routines, logging my schedule, looking for more violations in my life outside the neighborhood. This wasn't HOA enforcement. This was obsession. And it was about to escalate. It was evening. I came home late after work and decided to unwind in my backyard. Glass of wine. Soft music. Just trying to forget the insanity. That's when I heard it. A twig snapping. Near the back fence. I paused the music. Silence. Then, movement. Someone, on the other side of the fence. I turned on my floodlight. And there she was. Karen. In the dark. Holding her phone over my fence, trying to film my patio furniture. She gasped when the light hit her, then immediately backed away into the bushes. I shouted after her. What are you doing? No answer. Just the rustling of leaves. And then, silence. By the time I got to the side gate, she was gone. That night, I downloaded every camera angle I had. It was all there, full body shot, timestamp, GPS metadata from the dash cam. I emailed it to myself. Twice. I wasn't just compiling a collection of weird HOA interactions anymore. I was building a legal case. I created a folder on my desktop. Surveillance and harassment. Inside I added 12 video clips from the Ring camera showing Karen photographing my property. 8 clips of her standing near my backyard fence, sometimes after midnight. 6 dash cam clips where her SUV followed me from my house to the store, gym, and gas station. 4 neighbor testimonies via voice memo. And every single violation letter with timestamps, some only minutes apart. I even noted the time when she cited me for having suspicious visitors. That visitor was my cousin, coming to drop off a birthday gift. She knew who he was. We'd introduced them once. This wasn't about rules anymore. This was a sick game. Karen was using the HOA to justify a twisted obsession with control. But legally? She'd gone too far. So I called my attorney. He listened to everything, reviewed the footage, looked over timestamps. Then he said, this isn't just harassment under civil law. This could qualify as criminal stalking, and the violation letters are now evidence of intent. She's been documenting you, entering your private space, and following you off-site. That changed everything. We filed a formal complaint with the sheriff's department. I handed them the full digital folder on a USB drive. They didn't laugh. They didn't tell me I was paranoid. They took it very seriously. And they told me something I hadn't considered. Karen's position on the HOA board? It didn't give her immunity. If anything, it made her more accountable. Because now, she was misusing an official position to target a private citizen. That's abuse of authority, and it opens the door to civil liability as well. They launched an investigation. And a few days later, a sheriff's cruiser pulled into the neighborhood. Neighbors peeked from their blinds. Dogs barked. Lawns were suddenly empty. The deputy walked up to Karen's porch, papers in hand. Knocked. She answered with her usual pastel smile. He handed her the complaint, gave her a warning, explained the consequences. And suddenly, the woman who controlled every mailbox, patio chair, and porch curtain in the neighborhood was silent. She wasn't arrested yet, but she was informed in writing that any further unsolicited monitoring, property photography, unannounced proximity, or fabricated violation notices would be treated as grounds for misdemeanor stalking charges. And that wasn't all. The sheriff also advised her to cease her role in the HOA until the matter was resolved. She was stunned. For the first time in weeks, I didn't wake up to a violation letter. My wind chimes danced freely. My porch light glowed a little brighter than usual, out of pure pettiness. My tulips? Still unregistered. Still thriving. Karen didn't walk the street anymore. Her clipboard disappeared. The SUV stayed parked for days at a time. But the story's not over. Because Karen? She's not the type to let go. When the sheriff left Karen's house, something changed. The tight grip she had on the neighborhood began to loosen. No more clipboard strolls. No more daily patrols. No more 3 a.m. headlights beaming into my living room window. She went quiet. But if you think Karen was done, you don't know Karen. Because silence doesn't mean surrender. It means she was plotting. And what came next was her most desperate and spectacularly backfired move yet. 2 weeks passed. Peace had finally returned to the block. Neighbors started talking again, openly. Kids played basketball in driveways without getting fined. People left their trash bins out an entire day past pickup. It was glorious. I thought Karen had finally backed off. Then the envelopes started appearing. Not in my mailbox. On doorsteps. Under windshield wipers. Taped to fences. Anonymous letters. Printed on generic paper. No HOA letterhead. No signatures. Just venom. One read. Beware the neighbor who spies on women. He's building a case against all of us. Another said, you're being manipulated by someone who doesn't respect our rules, who will ruin our community with chaos. It was clearly about me. But worse, it was written as if I were the stalker, twisting the story, making it look like I was the threat, as if I had weaponized the HOA to target her, gaslighting in paper form. Then someone slipped a letter into Sheila's mailbox, the lemon bar lady. It accused her of faking medical issues to avoid yard work. Sheila cried. This wasn't passive-aggressive anymore. This was aggressive-aggressive. Karen was going scorched earth. If she couldn't control the HOA anymore, she'd burn the trust we had in each other. This wasn't the same neighborhood Karen had controlled for months. People were watching now. Recording. Communicating. Documenting. One neighbor, Dave, caught footage on his security camera. Karen sneaking up at night with a stack of envelopes and tape in hand. Caught red-handed. And this time? She couldn't blame it on HOA business. We compiled a shared Google Drive of video clips, timestamps, typed letters, and even a map of where the letters had been left. The evidence was undeniable. A few of us got together and presented everything to the interim HOA board, who had stepped in while Karen was under investigation. And guess what? Not only did they take it seriously, they voted unanimously to ban Karen from ever serving on the board again. Permanent disqualification. A lifetime ban. And because she was now tied to anonymous harassment campaigns, she was also barred from attending HOA meetings in person. She lost her voice. She lost her influence. But that still wasn't enough. Because Karen had broken the law, again. So we handed everything to the sheriff. The sheriff's department reviewed new materials. Dozens of letters. Multiple witness statements. Surveillance video from 3 different households. Karen was brought in for questioning. And this time, they didn't just issue a warning. They filed a restraining order. Karen was legally prohibited from coming within 150 feet of my property, or from contacting any member of the interim HOA board. She fought it, tried to claim we were defaming her. But the evidence was overwhelming. You can't claim defamation when there's video footage of you posting letters under cover of darkness with gloves on. The court sided with us. With Karen gone, something beautiful happened. Neighbors who had avoided eye contact for months started waving again. Someone set up a free library box at the park entrance. People started walking their dogs again, without measuring leash lengths. We even had a neighborhood barbecue. The first one since Karen took over. It was potluck style. I brought deviled eggs. Sheila brought her famous lemon bars. One guy, who had been cited for parking his bicycle too artistically, brought a karaoke machine. And you know what song we sang first? Let It Go. I'm not even kidding. As for Karen, she still lives here. She walks her dog at night, but doesn't speak. She passes people without making eye contact. Her camera is gone. Her clipboard vanished. And me? I installed 2 new wind chimes. One with actual bells. The other with tiny metal frogs that rattle when the breeze hits just right. Both completely unregistered. Because this is my home. And no Karen will ever control it again. What started with one ridiculous violation turned into a battle of privacy, power, and justice. But in the end, the community won. The tyrant fell. And I finally got my peaceful neighborhood back. All it took was a Ring camera, a spreadsheet, and a whole lot of patience. Karen thought she was untouchable. But she forgot the one rule even the worst HOA can't erase. When you push people too far, they push back.